Hello guys, welcome to week 12 of our lecture in Greater Fundamentals. Now for this week, we will be discussing about strings, lists, tuples, and iterations or loops. This is a more comprehensive discussion about the topic as these four particular topics have already been discussed. But we will take a deep dive into how these four are used in Python and in our programming. Now, as you all know, strings in Python, they can either be enclosed in double quote or in single quote. Now, it's up to you on how do you prefer to encapsulate or to indicate your string. But for my personal preference, I usually use a single quote, but you could use double quote as they are the same. Okay? Strings in Python. A string is a sequence of characters. Take note. A string is a sequence of characters, meaning to say one string can take up one or more characters. It can be declared in Python by using double quotes or single quotes. Strings are immutable. Immutable meaning they cannot be changed. Okay? Strings are immutable. They cannot be changed. In this example, we are assigning a string to a variable. So a is equals to this is a string, and then we print a. The output is this is a string. And that is how you would declare string. And that is how you would print string. Okay, so we can assign a string to any variables that we want. For list, they are considered as one of the most powerful tools in Python. They are just like the arrays declared in other languages. For Python, it does not have native support for array. We need to import a library in order for Python to support an array. So instead of array, what we use is what we call list. Okay? But the most powerful thing is that lists need not to be always homogeneous. Meaning to say, a single list can contain strings, integer, as well as objects. Can also be used for implementing stacks and queues. Okay, stacks and queues are sort of programming wherein one object comes after another. Okay, usually this is used for example, if you want to know which is the first in, first out, the first object that was inserted, the first object that will be released. Okay, those are the concepts of stacks and queues, but we will not be um, tackling that anymore. That is for advanced programming already, but I just say or said the term because lists are usually used for the concepts of stacking and queuing. Okay? Lists are mutable, unlike string, meaning they can be altered once they are declared. So for this example, we are declaring L as our list, capital L as our list. Take note, in order for you to declare a list, you need to insert or place your data inside bracket, okay, square brackets. Okay, so notice inside the square brackets, we have how many items? We have one, two, three, four. How did I know that we have four items? Items are separated by comma. Okay, notice they are separated by comma. And then also notice our items has different data types. Okay, or have different data types. We have integer, we have string, and then we have another integer. But notice this integer is 1 plus 2, meaning to say the value will be what? It will become 3. Okay. So for our first print of our list, it will output 1, a string 3. Okay. And then the next is there is what we call a method or a property. Now in programming, if we want to access a property, okay, we place a period after the variable, and then the property will you can access that property. In this instance, one of the property or function of our list is what we call append. Append places your particular item to the end of the list. So notice when I executed l.append, open close parenthesis, what value you want to append, this can be a number or this can be string, it will place that particular value at the end of our list. So once we print it, it will place the value in our end of the list. Okay. Next, we also have what we call pop. So notice pop does not accept or does not have any value inside the open close parenthesis. Okay. So it is just a simple function, but the property or the purpose of pop is to remove the last element that is found in our list. So what is that last element or item that we have placed? That is 6. So once we did l.pop and then we print l, okay, it will display 1, a string, and 3. It will not display 6 anymore because pop is used to remove the last item on our list. Okay. Then lastly, print l, and then notice we have bracket, and then inside our bracket we have 1. Okay, what this does is to indicate that we are only calling for the particular index of our list. So in this case, we are calling index 1. Okay? In programming, our index always starts at 0. So in this instance, because we have 4 items in our list, we have index 0, that is the value is 1. Index 1, the value is A. Index 2, the value is string. And index 3, the value is 3. When we ask L index 1, of course, it is calling for the value on index 1, which is string A. Notice it does not have any single quote. Why is that? Okay, because in this first 3 print instances, what we are printing is the value or the contents of L. And then in order for us to indicate that our string is a string, it will display it in a single quote. Okay, take note of that. But in this instance, we are only calling for the value. So if you are only calling for the value, there is no need to place a single quote or a double quote here. Okay. So in the first 3 print, we are printing the contents of our list. And then in the fourth instance of print, we are calling for the actual value. That's why there is no single quote. Hope that is clear. Okay, if we have list, we also have what we call tuples. Tuple is a sequence of immutable Python objects. Take note, a list is what? It is mutable. They can be altered once declared. Whereas tuples, they are immutable. Meaning to say, just like list, with the exception that tuples cannot be changed once they are declared, and they are usually faster than list. Now, if you notice, list uses bracket, square brackets. In tuples, it uses a parenthesis, open close parenthesis. And then inside, you declare the same data. So notice, In here, okay, in tuples, we cannot do an append or a pop because tuples are immutable or we cannot change the items inside our tuples. Take note of that. So in here, we print top variable, which is our tuple. And then notice it will display the content, the entire contents of our tuple top. And then in the second print, we are calling for index 1. So top index 1. So the value will be A. Again, there is no single quote because we are calling the, or double quote because we are calling the value. Okay. I hope that is clear. For any questions, kindly drop me a message in our um, Discord channel because some of our examples from here will require the use of list. So if you do not understand the list, how can you do the problems or quizzes that we will have later on? So please, if you have any query or questions, do not hesitate to post them in our Discord chat. Okay. Next, iteration by for loop on a string. If I'm not mistaken, um, I have already given this example in, if I'm not mistaken, week 6 or 7. But in order for us to do a review, okay, take a look at the code. We have a string variable called s having the value hello space world. Okay, because our string is actually a sequence of characters, we could actually use a for loop, okay, for getting the contents of our string variable. Now, in this instance, we will use what we call a for in loop. Okay, wherein for and then declare the variable wherein you will place each and every character of your string and then the keyword in. Okay, so I can be, it can be X, could be Y, could be A, depends on you as long as it is a different variable from your string variable S. Okay, and then in keyword and then followed by the string variable. What happens here is that we are getting each and every character from S and then we put it in our I until it reaches the very end character, which is D. And then notice colon, next line, we print the value of I. As I have said, I will take on the value of each and every character in S variable. Okay, so we will have an output of HELLO space WORLD. Okay, so that is how you would loop using a for loop on a string. Okay, we can also use a for loop on a list. Okay, if we want to use a for loop on a list, what we could do is, take note guys, this loop are using either string, list, or tuples, or range. Okay. The other type of loop is the for loop that we have discussed on our previous lecture, wherein there is a starting and an ending value. Okay. So do not confuse that for loop with this particular for loop wherein we are using the in keyword. So for the list, we have again L as our list having values 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Using a for loop, we place each and every value of our L list in I and then we print it. So the output is this one. We can also use our for loop in a range. So take note, range, what is a range? It is a function wherein it will give out the starting up until the ending value. So in this instance, okay, we have a starting value of 0 and then our ending value is 10, so that is minus 1. Always in the range, the last number is the number minus 1. So we will have an output of 0 to 9. Okay. So I want to show you the samples or codes that we have. These sample codes can be found in your Canvas. Kindly download them if you want, and then you could copy them in your cell phone or in your computer. Again, as I have said, take note of your spaces, your indentation, and then do not forget after each and every command like if, else, or for loop, after the colon, press enter so that it will be placed inside that particular line, in that particular code, and it will be properly indented. Do not forget that, guys, so that you will not encounter any error. So for our first example, a is equals to, this is a string, print a. Okay, this is a string. Next, okay, list sample, we have print, okay, L, append, pop, and then the index 1. Okay, list sample, we have the list, we have the append 6, we have the pop, so we remove 6, and then we have L index 1, which is a. For the tuple, we also have the print the tuple, and then index 1 of our tuple. For our for loop string, using for I in S, okay, we have hello world, okay, hello world. And then for this example, using list, we have 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. And then lastly, for our range, we have 0 to 10 minus 1. So it will print 0 to 9. Python string. In Python, strings are array of bytes representing Unicode characters. However, Python does not have a character data type. So a single character is simply a string with a length of 1. Square brackets can be used to access elements of the string. So again, this is just a brief preview. How do we create a string? Strings in Python can be created using single quotes, double quotes, or even triple quotes. So those are the three means of how we could create a string. Okay, we have a sample here. I just want to break down the things that we have used, and I'd like to remind each and everyone how or why was it used. First is the backslash n. Backslash n is used to represent that particular line will be printed on the next line. Okay, always remember that backslash n means new line or next line. Okay, and then also notice in our example, we could actually use triple quotes, but I do not advise in using that. Also, take note, if you want to use a single quote or an apostrophe, like for example, I'm a geek, so I apostrophe M, a geek. If you want to use that one, you could just enclose your string in double quote so that you could use a single quote. You cannot use a single quote. You could not use a single quote and then place a single quote again to represent, or an apostrophe to represent an apostrophe like this one. So that apostrophe M. Okay. So you need to use double quote for that one. If you want to represent words such as I'm, what else? apostrophe S. Okay. And then also take note if you are creating strings, as long as you do not close it yet with a double quote, you could use the next line, okay, to represent your string. So when this particular string is printed, it will output the same format. So notice we have space and then for and life are on the next line. Okay, so take note of that. So we will, I will show you the actual example code. This single quote. This is a double quote with an apostrophe or a single quote. And then this is with the next line. And then this is with the triple quote. Notice. And then for this one, we use multiple lines. Okay. Accessing characters in Python. In Python, individual characters of a string can be accessed by using the method of indexing. Note of that, indexing. Indexing allows negative address references to access characters from the back of the string. Example, -1 refers to the last character, -2 refers to the second last character, and so on. While accessing an index out of range will While accessing an index out of the range, it will cause an index error. Meaning to say, guys, if that particular index does not exist in the string, it will return an error. Only integers are allowed to be passed as an index. Float or other types will cause a type error. Okay, so we have a table here. The word is, or the string is geeks for geeks, wherein the very first character G has an index of 0. Okay, and then the very last character S has an index of 12. Okay, we could also use a negative index if you want to access the very last character. The very last character, if you use -1, you will come up with the very last character. And then all the way to the very first character, that is -13. So you could use a positive index, you could use a negative index. In my case, in my own preference, I always use the positive index, wherein the very first character is 0. This one is useful if you want to get the very last character. It's always in -1. Okay, so we have here another sample, geeks for geek string. So we print the string. Next, first character, index 0. String 1, index 0. Take note. Always remember, when accessing the index of a list or a string, you use what? You use the bracket. And then to access the last character, we use bracket -1. So the output is like this. Okay. So in order for me to show you the output, okay, this actual code, again, you can download it as an attachment in our Canvas page. Kindly download it, unzip the file, and then you can run it in your computer or in your cell phone. Just do not forget to use open and then go to the directory of your file. This is the actual output. Next, string slicing. When we say the word slicing, what does come into your mind? So slicing in Tagalog, hiwa. So we're splitting. Okay. To access a range of characters in the string, the method of slicing is used. Slicing in a string is done by using a slicing operator, which is a colon. Take note, it is not only an indication of the end of an if, an elif, an else, a for loop, a while loop. The colon is also used as a slicing operator. So we have here a sample. Again, the string is geeks for geeks. If we want to print the third to the 12th character, what we do is index. Okay, so that's bracket. and then 3, index 3, colon 12. So 3 up to 12. So colon is actually a representation of a command up to. Okay, so up to 3, up to 12. Okay, so that's the third to the 12th character. How about printing characters between the third and the second character? So in order for us to do this, we will 3 up to negative 2. Negative 2 again is the second to the last because negative 1 is the last character. Again, take note of another instance here of print. Okay? When printing or when defining a string, you could actually use the plus sign, which is again a concatenation operator. If you go back to our previous lecture, the plus sign is a concatenation operator for a string, meaning to say you can connect one string to another. And then take note, the end parenthesis of our print is found on the second character. So if you want your line to be more readable, you could actually move your next line to the next command line. You could actually do that. Upon execution, the output will be for 3 to 12, KS for geeks, and then for third to the second to the last character, KS for geek. Okay. If we run the actual code, okay, note, this is the output. Again, guys, I'm encouraging you to do the samples by yourself. Try to play around and then ask me questions. Because if you will not execute the code, if you will not play around with the code, you will not understand anything with regards to programming. Programming is application, programming is experimentation, and programming is exploration. Okay? If you will not do the sample codes, then you will not understand anything with regards to programming. So I advise, guys, please, even if you have a very old cell phone, this compiler will work. Okay? You do not need internet. You do not need a computer. Just try to run the samples, experiment on your own. If you have any questions, kindly ask me in our Discord chat. Next, escape sequencing. I have already discussed escape sequencing as again, this is all only a review. Okay, while printing strings with single and double quotes in it causes syntax error. Take note, if you print a string with single and double quote inside, it will cause an error, guys. Do not forget. You need to use an escape character, an escape sequence. Okay? Because string already contains single and double quotes, that's why it will cause an error. Hence, they cannot be printed with the use of either this. To print such a string, either triple quotes are used, which is not advisable, or escape sequences are used to print such string. Escape sequences start with a backslash and can be interpreted differently. If single quotes are used to represent a string, then all the single quotes present in the string must be escaped, and same is done for double quotes. So for example, we have the string, okay, triple quote I, single quote M, A, double quote geek, triple quote, double quote, and then triple quote. Initial string with the use of triple quote. Escaping a single quote. Okay. The string. So if you want to display single quote I, all you need to do is single quote, and then in order for you to display single quote, use backslash single quote. So this will display the string. And then take note, we could use the double quote inside a single quote. And we could use a single quote inside a double quote. Okay. The only problem is if you want to display a single quote inside the single quote or a double quote inside the double quote. So this is a sample. If you want to display a double quote, you just use backslash double quote, backslash double quote. So you can now display a double quote inside a double quote. So for example, if you want to print a path, okay, for all of you who is not familiar with path or computer path is the particular location in which a particular folder or file is located. Okay, if we use an ordinary method, meaning to say, notice here the strings has double backslash. So if you want to display the backslash, you need to use double backslash. Okay. So upon executing that, this will be the output. So we were able to display the single quote and double quote. We were able to inside a single quote, or sorry, inside the triple quote. And then inside the single quote, we were able to display the single quote using backslash single quote. And then inside the double quote, we were able to display the double quote using backslash double quote. And then in here, we were able to display the backslash using double backslash. So for the actual code, okay, here it is. And then the actual output. To ignore the escape sequences in a string, R or capital R is used. This implies that the string is a raw string and the escape sequences inside it are to be ignored. So the code is this one. So for example, string 1, this is export backslash x47, 65, okay. Print backslash printing in hex with the use of escape sequences. So print that. And then using raw string to ignore escape sequences. If you use R or capital R, you will print the entire string ignoring the escape sequences, or ignoring, you will display the backslash. Okay. If you use R, it will ignore the escape characters. So this will be the output. Okay. So this will be the code. So notice the first line does not display the escape character or the backslash. While in the second line, we use R and all the backslash were displayed. Okay. Formatting of strings. Strings in Python can be formatted with the use of, what do we call this one? After a variable and then you use period. Okay. A variable and then you use period. What do we call that? It's called a property or a function. So always a property or a function has an open close parenthesis, and we can sometimes place a variable or a value inside. Okay, later on, we will discuss about how to use those functions for list, tuples, dictionary. Okay, and then before the finals period, I will discuss how you can make your own function. Okay, we use the format method, which is a very versatile and powerful tool for formatting strings. Format method in string contains curly braces. Take note, formatting strings contain curly braces as placeholders, which can hold arguments according to position or keyword to specify the order. This is a sample code for formatting of strings. Now, in order for you to format string, okay, we have here three samples. The first sample is the default order. So we have here three strings, gigs for life. So using double quote and then the number of string that you will format. So in this case, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then double quote that format. And then inside our format function, input our three strings. Make sure the number of strings match the number of curly brackets that you have placed inside your double quote. So this will just display geeks for life, which is the default order. Now, if you want to format it in a positional format, meaning to say you will not follow the order in which the strings were placed in your format function, what you could do is to provide a number. So take note, our starting index is always at 0, and then our ending index is the number of objects minus 1. So in that case, that is 2. In this example, inside our curly bracket, we placed 1, 0, and 2. So meaning to say, the very first that will be printed is index or string at index 1. So that's 4, followed by 0, which is geeks, followed lastly by life. So 4 geeks life, 4 geeks life. Now, you could also use a keyword instead of using an index. So for example, here we have bracket L, F, G, okay, that format. So they are represented by variables. So G will take up the value of geeks, F is 4, and L is life. So the order is L, F, G. So L is life, F is 4, and G is geeks. So when you print the values, that will be the output. So this is the sample code. Okay. Next. Next is integers such as binary, hexadecimal, etc., and floats can be rounded or displayed in the exponent form with the use of format specifiers. So in the first example, we dealt with string. So in this example, we will be dealing with other data types. The first one is binary. So if you want to represent your value to binary format, you use this pattern. So bracket 0, 0 will accept your numeric value. So that will represent your numeric value, index 0, and colon, followed by B represents binary, E is for our float, and then F okay, F represents our decimal numbers. Okay, so decimal numbers. First is the binary format, so 16. So 0 colon B format 16. So it will convert 16 into binary. Next, 0 colon E. So the data is 165.6458. It will, E represents exponent representation. So E represents exponent representation. F is for float. Sorry. B is binary. E is exponent. F is float. Okay. So 0, index 0, which is 165.6458 will be represented in exponent or exponential form. Okay, and then lastly, 0, which is 1 divided by 6, will be represented in 0 colon dot 2 F, meaning to say we will display a float having zero point 0.2 or 2 decimal places. 0 colon 0.2. So zero point 0.2 represents decimal, and then 2 is the number of decimal places. So point is the decimal, and 2 is the number of decimal places. And then F is the value of 1 divided by 6 is float. Okay. So this will be represented into float having 2 decimal numbers. Okay. So this will be the output. Okay, so let us try the actual code. Okay. How about let us try to experiment. I want to show, take note that is that 2. So if I want to show 3 decimal places, that 3F, okay, 4 is that 4F, so on and so forth. Okay. How about if we change it to H? Maybe that's hexa. So let's just try on this error. Okay. You could also try to convert it into hexa. I just don't know the letter, specific letter. Put it to, okay. A string can be left or center, justified with the use of format specifiers separated by colon. Okay. So string, we have here bar, curly braces, colon, less than 10, and then braces, colon, caret 10, then bar, curly braces, colon, greater than 10, format geeks, 4 geeks. Okay, so this will represent our, we have 3 curly braces, which will represent our 3 strings. The first one is colon greater than 10. The next one is colon caret 10. And then the next one is colon greater than 10. Less than caret greater than. So left, center, and right alignment with formatting. So this one is the left alignment. This is the center alignment. And then this is the right alignment. Okay. Next is we have backslash n, 0, which will represent our index, colon, to caret 16. So meaning to say, if I'm not mistaken, this is center alignment, was founded in curly braces 1, colon, less than, so this is left aligned, then geeks for geeks 2009. So geeks for geeks will be center aligned, and then 2009 will be left aligned. Okay. Then this will be the output. First, left align. So if I'm not mistaken, this is the number of characters where it will be aligned. So meaning to say it will occupy 10 character spaces. And then in this one, 10 character spaces also, and then 10 characters to the right. Okay. In this second example, we have center alignment with 16 characters. So center alignment with 16 characters was founded in 2009, left aligned with 4 characters. Okay, so let us try to view the actual example. So again, for string alignment, colon less than is left aligned, colon caret is center aligned, and then colon greater than is right aligned. Okay, you need to indicate the number of characters wherein you will do the alignment. Just make sure that your inputted string is less than the total number of characters that you will use for your alignment. Otherwise, you will not notice any differences. Okay. Let's say, for example, geeks has 5. So if I make it into 4, okay, you will not notice anything because we only use 4 characters. But if I use, it needs to have at least greater than 5 characters. But if I use 10, notice that, okay, the space increase. So therefore, I can see how it was aligned. Okay. Also the same as on the fourth example here. We have index 1. So this is the second data. And then we use left align 4. This already 4. So therefore, we did not notice any differences. I will update this one so that you will be reminded that you need to place followed by enter to have greater than your than the length of character of your data. Okay, so we just added that note so that you won't forget. Okay, and the next, lastly, old style formatting was done without the use of format method by using the percentage operator. So if I'm not mistaken, this is the format that we are using in our previous example. So we use the percentage operator to represent data. So in this example, guys, percentage, we use percentage in our data. So here, the value of integer 1 is percentage 3.2f. So 3.2f. So 3, if I'm not mistaken, 3 numbers to the 3 whole numbers and 2 decimal places, and then f is for the float. So the second example is percentage 3 whole numbers and then 4 decimal places, and then f is for the float. So when we execute that, this will be the output. Okay. Percentage 3.2. So 3 represents our whole number. Point represents the number of decimal places. F is for float. D is for integer or digits. Okay. You go. Python lists. Lists are just dynamically sized arrays declared in other languages. This is called vector in C++ and array list in Java. Lists need not be homogeneous always, which makes it the most powerful tool in Python. When we say homogeneous, guys, meaning to say it does not need to be of the same data type. We can mix and match different data type in one particular list. A single list may contain data types like integers, strings, as well as objects. Lists are mutable and hence they can be altered even after their creation. Lists in Python are ordered and have a definite count. Elements in a list are indexed according to a definite sequence, and the indexing of a list is done with 0 being the first index. Each element in the list has its definite place in the list, allowing us to duplicate elements in the list, with each element having its own distinct place and credibility. Lists are a useful tool for preserving a sequence of data and further iterating over it. Creating a list. Lists in Python can be created by just placing the sequence inside the square brackets. Unlike sets, a list doesn't need a built-in function for the creation of a list. Unlike sets, the list may contain mutable elements. So lists just like a set is just like list or arrays or collection. Okay, although we will not be talking about sets, um, a list is just like a set. However, they have their differences, like sets cannot be changed, just like a tuple, and sets need a function in order for it to be created. Okay, so this is a sample code to create a list. The first one is we create a blank list. So the variable name is capital L list, okay, is equals to square bracket, okay, meaning to say we are creating a blank list. Next, in order for us to set values to our list, we just need to place the items or the data inside the list separated by comma. And then if we want to access the items inside the list, we use bracket and then index. Always be reminded that the starting index is 0. Okay, and then the ending index is the number of items minus 1. We can also create a multi-dimensional list, which is a list inside a list. Okay, simply by placing a list inside a list. That is called a multi-dimensional list. Okay, so without further ado, this is the code. So blank list of numbers, a list of string, and then accessing the list, and then a multi-dimensional list. The output would be this. Okay. Note for our sample with the index, the answer was the same even though the index was different, 0 and 2, simply because 0 has a value of geeks and index number 2 has a value also of geeks. Next sample, creating a list with multiple distinct or duplicate elements. A list may contain duplicate values with their distinct position, and hence multiple distinct or duplicate values can be passed as a sequence at the time of list creation. So for example, here we created a list. Notice the numbers 4 and 3 were repeated. Okay, creating a list with a mixed type of values, wherein we have numbers and string. Okay, if we execute this code, we will come up with this particular output. So let us try. Okay, so take note that although the data here in our list were repeated, they are treated as a different, quote unquote, different data. Why? Because first, although they have the same values, they have what? Different indexes. So therefore, they are unique. It's like saying that um, there are two persons named Juan. However, the first one lives in Valenzuela, which is his index, and then the second one lives in Malabon, which is his index. So they are completely different person, although they have the same name. Okay. Likewise, the same goes for this one, geeks and geeks. They have the same data. However, they have different, or they have the same value, but they have different data. Okay, simply because they have different indexes. Next, knowing the size of a list. In order for us to know the size of a list, we use, okay, the function. Take note, this function is a self-contained function. It does not need period. However, it still needs the open and close parentheses. The function len tells us the number of elements inside a list. Okay? All it needs to be provided is the name of the variable of the list. Okay, so take note of that. So in this instance, that is list 1. Okay, so the output could be 0. Why? Because it's a blank list, meaning to say the length is 0. And then the second output is 3. Why? Because there are 3 elements in our list. So let us execute the sample. Okay. Next, adding elements to a list. In order for us to add elements to the list, we use the .append property or function. Now, in order for us to access this property or function, we need to have the name of the list variable together with period and then append. Okay? Elements can be added to the list by using the built-in append function. Only one element at a time can be added to the list by using the append method. For the addition of multiple elements with the append method, loops are used. Tuples can also be added to the list with the use of the append method because because tuples are immutable. Unlike sets, lists can also be added to the existing list with the use of the append method. Take note, inside our list, we can add tuples and sets. Okay? As I have said, inside the list, we can add any other data type, or we can also add list as well as tuples and sets. This is the sample code that we have. So first, we have a blank list variable called list. Then to add, take note, when we use append, the elements are added one at a time, and then they are inserted at the end of our list. Okay, so append 1 to 4. Okay, and then next, we append using a for loop and arrange. To take note, again, in arrange, you have the starting value and then the ending value minus 1. So from here, we are appending 1 to 3, which will be carry over to the variable I. Okay. And then in here, we append tuples. Take note, tuples uses open close parentheses. And then in the last example, we created a list called list2, okay, which has a value of 4 geeks, and it's appended to the list. So the output will be like this one. So this is append one by one. This is append using for loop. This is append of a tuple. Then this is append of a list. Okay. For the sample code, okay, here is the sample code. Okay. Next, insert method. Append method only works for the addition of elements at the end of the list. For the addition of elements at a desired position, insert method is used. Unlike append, which takes only one argument, the insert method requires two arguments, the position and the value. So in this example, we have a list having four elements, four items. Next, we insert 12 to the index position 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So 4 will become 12. And then 4 will move to the fourth index. And then on the 0 index, which is 1, we will insert geeks and 1 will move to the first index. So after performing the data, the output will be like this one. Okay. Okay. Accessing elements from the list. In order to access the list items, refer to the index number. Use the index operator, square bracket, to access an item in a list. The index must be an integer. Nested lists are accessed using nested indexing. Okay. So for the sample code, okay, we have list geeks for geeks, which are string. And then we access the first index, so that is geeks. The second index is 2. So the output is geeks, geeks. Next, we create a multi-dimensional list having the value of list geeks 4 and list geeks. To access this one, okay, we use 2, or depending on the number of index, depending on the number of lists that you have, the first bracket represents your main index, main list index. So this is 0, and then this is 1. Okay. The second bracket represents the data inside your list. So we have 0 and 1. So the value for 0 and 1 is what? 4. And in this one, we have list 1, so geeks, index 0, that is geeks. If you put it in 1 here, you will encounter error because there is no index 1 for the index or for the list 1. Okay, so the answer will be geeks, geeks, and list 4 geeks. Okay, sorry, the answer is 4 geeks. So this is just a typo. So if we execute our code, we have the same outputs. Negative indexing. In Python, negative sequence index represents position from the end of the array. Instead of having to compute the offset as in list length of the list minus 3, it is enough just write negative 3. Negative indexing means beginning from the end. Negative 1 refers to the last item. Negative 2 refers to the second last item, etc. So just like the string index, okay, we can use the negative indexing to refer to the very last element. Okay, negative 1 is the very last element, negative 2, second to the last, etc., etc. So in this sample code, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items with the combination of numbers and string. Okay. So the first one is we will display the last item using negative 1 and the third to the last element. The output would be geeks and 1, 2, 3, last 4. Okay. I think I do not have the sample for that. So let us just make this. Okay. That is the output. Removing elements from the list. Elements can be removed from the list by using the built-in remove function. But an error arises if the element doesn't exist in the set. Remove method only removes one element at a time. To remove a range of elements, the iterator or loop is used. The remove method removes the specified item. The remove method in list will only remove the first occurrence of the search element. Okay, take note of that. This is our sample code. We have this list. Okay, and then we remove index. We remove index 5 and 6. And then using a range, remove 1 to 4. Okay. After removal of 5 and 6, this is what is left. And then after removal of 1 to 4, this is what is left in our list. So let us check. Okay. That is the output. Next, pop method or pop function can be used to remove and return an element from the set, but by default, it removes only the last element of the set. Remove an element from a specific position, the index of the element is passed as an argument to the pop method. Okay, so pop method can be used by itself. It will remove the last element or last item in our list, but you can also supply an index wherein if you provide the index, that particular index will be removed. Okay, it's basically the same as the remove method or function. Okay, however, it can be used without value being provided inside the method. Okay, so let us try to run the code. So we use pop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It will become 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on the second one, we use pop 2, 0, 1, 2. So it will become 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 4. Okay. Slicing of a list. In Python, list, there are multiple ways to print a whole list with all the elements. But to print a specific range of elements from the list, we use the slice operation. Since slice operation is performed on list with the use of a colon, just like string. To print elements from beginning to arrange, use colon index. To print elements from end use colon dash index. To print elements from a specific index till the end use index colon. To print elements within a range, use start index colon end index. And to print the whole list with the use of slicing operation, use colon. Further, to print a whole list in reverse order, use colon colon negative 1. Okay, so we have a diagram here. So this is the index 0. Then take note, we could also use a reverse or negative index. So this is the default beginning in the of slice colon bracket colon, and then reverse order colon colon negative 1, and then default end of sequence colon bracket. Okay, so this is the sample that we have. We have GEEKS, FOR GEEKS. So we print the initial list, and the next slice operation list index 3 to 8. Then next we have list 5 colon, and then next we have list colon. So the output for 3 colon 8 is KSFOR Y 0, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. To take note, 3 index 8. So it will only go, or the second character here pertains to the number of characters. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, this is the 8 characters. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Start here. 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 7 index, and then this is the 8 character. So that's the output. Okay, and then 5 colon. The output is 4 geeks. Why? Because we will begin within the fifth index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then up to the end. So that's 4 gigs. And then lastly, if you want to print all the elements, you just use list colon. Will display everything. Okay. Let us take a look. For example, an example using negative less slicing. Take note, we start from the last element up to the first if you are using negative less slicing. So for example, we have colon negative 6. Element slice till the sixth element from the last. We have starting from negative 6 up until negative 1 index. We also have colon colon negative 1, printing the list in reverse. So element slice till sixth element from the last, colon negative 6. The answer is geeks po, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Negative 6 to the first element. And then we have negative 6 to negative 1. So we have negative 6 to negative 1. So that is 1, 1, 0. So sorry, it's negative 1. R geek, R geek, negative 6, negative 1. Negative 1 is the last element. So plus 1. So it will become K, or minus 1. It will become negative 2. And then starting from negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the answer is R geek. Okay, so do not be confused. Negative 1 is actually S, right? But always remember, we are always adding 1. Okay, if we use format like this one. Okay, so what happens is that it becomes negative 2 and up to the negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are geek. And then we also have colon colon negative 1, which is the list in reverse. So the output is this one. We have the list of different built-in functions with the list. You could try them at home. If you want, you could experiment with some of them that we have not tackled. Okay, next are tuples or tuple. Tuple is a collection of Python objects, just like list. The sequence of values stored in a tuple can be of any type and they are indexed by integers. Values of a tuple are syntactically separated just like list by commas, although it is not necessary. It is more common to define a tuple by closing the sequence of values in parentheses. This helps in understanding the Python tuples more easily. Now, just like list, okay, they are almost the same. However, tuples data are what guys immutable, meaning they cannot be changed, and then it use parentheses. Okay, separated by comma. So this is the sample code. We have a blank tuple variable called tuple1. We set the value of our tuple, and then next is we place okay a list inside our tuple, and then created another tuple. We created a tuple using a list. Okay, so these are the output. Notice in the example with tuple using a list, the answer was converted to a tuple. Simply by converting tuple converts our list. This is actually a function. Converts our list into a tuple. Okay. This is our code to blank tuple with data of string. And then the list got being converted into the tuple using the tuple method or function. And then lastly is creating a tuple using the tuple function, just like the third example. Okay. Creating a tuple with mixed data type, just like list, we can create tuples with mixed or different data type. Tuples can also be created with a single element, but it is a bit tricky. Having one element in the parentheses is not sufficient. There must be a trailing comma to make it a tuple. Okay. So there is no sense in creating lists, tuples, or dictionary if you are only creating only one particular data inside. Okay. You need to have multiple elements inside that object. That's why list, tuples, dictionary are called collection because they are a collection of different or multiple data. So in here, we created a tuple with strings and numbers. Next, created a tuple inside a tuple, okay, or a nested tuple. And then in this example, we created a tuple using repetition. So notice geeks and then comma inside the parentheses times 3. So meaning to say, we will create 3 tuples having the same value geeks. And then lastly, we use a for loop to create a tuple. So if you are creating multiple tuples, what you could do is to append the comma at the end of the um, item or at the end of the tuple that you're creating. Okay. So the output would be For our first example, mixed data type, okay, we just list that one. Nested tuples, so tuple inside the tuple. And then tuple with repetition, so this is geeks, comma, times 3. So we have 3 geeks. Notice the last item does not have a comma anymore. Okay, take note of that. It's that it didn't have a comma anymore simply because the comma is just to denote that we are adding a tuple or adding a value to our tuple. Okay, and then lastly, we have geeks and then geeks. Okay, in this example, we are placing a tuple inside a tuple. Okay, take note. Okay, what's happening here is that we are adding a tuple inside the tuple inside the tuple. Okay, first value of tuple 1 is geeks. But how come that instead of having geeks and then geeks, there is a blank or a comma here? The reason for that is that because in here, we are setting the value of tuple to tuple. Okay, comma. Should be what? If we are appending value, should be, okay, let us try. Okay, this is just sample. Error. Can only concatenate string, not tuple to string. Okay. Tuple 1 is equivalent to, should be tuple 1 is equals to tuple, tuple, tuple. Times I. Okay. Error. Tuple was not listed. Inserting a tuple inside the tuple here. And then the value of tuple inside. Tuple 1 will always be geeks in comma. And then, okay. Anyway, if you can come up with how this can be created with geeks, and then inside there's another geeks, how would we execute that one? Okay. In this one, there's no problem. But in this one, notice that the comma is retained simply because tuple 1 is equals to tuple 1. We're just basically repeating the value of tuple 1 inside. Okay. Anyway, accessing tuples. So to access tuples is just like accessing lists for strings. We use index. Okay, they are very much the same. So we start with index 0. Okay, and then in this example, let me show you with index. So tuple 1 is equals to tuple geeks. First element of tuple 1, index 1. So the value is E. Why? Because 0, 1, that's E, 1. Tuple unpacking. So this line unpack values of tuple 1. ABC is equals to tuple 1. Print values after unpacking. So print ABC. So what happens? Geeks for geeks. We have tuple 1 represented by A, B, and C. So index 0, 1, 2. And then we could actually place the values inside the variable using comma. So A will represent geeks, B will represent 4, and C will represent geeks. So after printing that, this will be the output. Tuples are immutable and usually they contain a sequence of heterogeneous elements that are accessed by unpacking or indexing, or even by attribute in the case of named tuples. Lists are mutable and their elements are usually homogeneous and are accessed by iterating over the list. So tuples are heterogeneous, usually heterogeneous, while lists are homogeneous. Okay, the elements are homogeneous. In unpacking of tuple, number of variables on the left-hand side should be equal to the number of variables in the given tuple A. So the number of elements or items should be equal to the number of variables which are unpacking. So sample, okay, the output. Okay. Slicing of a tuple. Slicing of a tuple is done to fetch a specific range or slice of sub-element from a tuple. Slicing can also be done to list an arrays. Indexing in a list results to fetching a single element, whereas slicing allows to fetch a set of elements. Negative increment values can also be used to reverse the sequence of tuple, just like string and list. Okay. So I think the code is missing. So the output, I will update this one. So this is the code. Slicing of a tuple with numbers. So our example is tuple, it's for geeks. So we to remove the first element, we use tuple 1 colon. Then we reverse the tuple. We use tuple bracket colon colon negative 1. Then lastly, we print the elements between range 4 to 9. Take note, this will become what? This will become 8. Okay. So for the first, it's removal of the first element. Removal of the first element, it will become 8 for geeks. Next, reverse. And then elements 4 to 8 element. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's S. 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is S4. S4. Next is deleting a tuple. Tuples are immutable and hence they do not allow deletion of a part of it. The entire tuple gets deleted by the use of the del function or method. Printing of tuple after deletion results in an error. So if we execute this particular line, it should only be up until the second line. Okay. If you execute this one, it will return an error because we have deleted tuple. Okay. So let us try. Notice the error. But if we will not execute, let's comment out the line. There's no error. Okay. If we print something that is already deleted, it will obviously cause an error. These are the built-in methods which you can try. Okay, it's already listed there. To try the methods, research how those methods work. Okay, next are Python dictionary. Dictionary in Python is an unordered collection of data values used to store data values like map, which unlike other data types hold only a single value as an element. Dictionary holds key value pair. Key value is provided in the dictionary to make it more optimized. So to create a dictionary in Python, we create it by placing a sequence of elements within curly braces separated by comma. Take note, lists are brackets, tuples are parentheses, and dictionary are curly braces. Dictionary holds pair of values. Take note of that. It holds pair of values, the key and the value. One being the key and the other corresponding pair element being its key value. Values in the dictionary can be of any data type and can be duplicated, whereas areas whereas keys can be repeated and must be immutable. So the value can be repeated, but the keys must be unique and they are immutable and cannot be changed. Dictionary keys are case sensitive, the same name but different cases of key will be treated distinctly. Take note also of that. Okay, the small caps is different from the big caps. So to create a dictionary here, we have key 1 having value of geeks, 2 having value of 4, and 3 having value of geeks also. You can also create a dictionary with mixed keys. So for example, we have key of name having value of geeks and key of 1 having a list. Okay. So the output for that would be this. Okay. This is our sample code. Take note again. This is the key separated by colon, and then this is the value. The key could be a string or a number. The value could also be a key or a number. They are enclosed in curly braces. Okay. Also, we can insert a list as a value or a tuple as a value. Okay, take note of that. But of course, you cannot use a list, a tuple as your name or key. Okay, it can only be used as a value. Dictionary can also be created by using the built-in function dict or dict. An empty dictionary can be created by just placing two curly braces. Empty dictionary, okay, dictionary with the use of dict and okay, the code is missing. So, okay. So we can create a blank dictionary just by using curly braces. Or we can create a dictionary using the method or function dict and then supply the data. But do not forget the curly braces, okay? And the key value pair. Okay. We can also create a dictionary from a pair. Okay. So in this example, we have a list of tuples, both containing two items. Okay. And then in this example, I think the code got repeated. After executing the code, we will have the following output. So empty dictionary and then the dictionary using the dict function or method, and then dictionary with each item as a pair. One keeps, two for. So notice the tuple here were converted into a key value pair. us check code output. Okay. Adding elements to a dictionary. In Python, dictionary dictionary, the addition of elements can be done in multiple ways. One value at a time can be added to a dictionary by defining value along with the key. For example, dictionary key is equals to value. Updating the existing value in a dictionary can be done by using the update method. Nested key values can also be added to an existing dictionary. While adding a value, the key value already exists, the value gets updated. Otherwise, a new key with the value is added to the dictionary. So take note of that. If the key already exists, then the value gets updated. Otherwise, a new key is created. So this is our sample code. This is our sample code. So first we create an empty dictionary. Then we add elements to our dictionary. And then after that, we create a key, which is value set having the following values. And then next, we update the second key's value to welcome. So the output would be 0 gigs 2431. Then dictionary after adding 3 elements. So value set, we added 2, 3, and 4. Then lastly, we update key, second key to welcome. So from 4, it will become welcome. The code for that is here. So let us check. Same output. Accessing elements from a dictionary. In order to access the items of a dictionary, we refer to its key name. Key can be used inside square brackets. So for example, we have created a dictionary having 1 geeks, name 4, and 3 geeks. So we print the value of dictionary having the key name. That will be 4. So 4 will be displayed. And then you could also use index, so DICT1. So 1, DICT, and then key name 1. So that will be geeks. So this is the sample code for our access using name of the key element or the index, using a string name and an integer name. Okay. There's also a method called get that will also help in accessing the element from a dictionary. So how do you use get? In order to use get, we just state the name of our dictionary followed by period and then the name of our method or function get followed by the name of our key. This in this instance 3 will return 8. Okay. Let us try name. Okay. Removing elements from a dictionary, we use the del keyword. Okay, in Python. Dictionary deletion of keys can be done using the del keyword. Using the del keyword, specific values from a dictionary as well as the whole dictionary can be deleted. Items in a nested dictionary can also be deleted using the del keyword and providing a specific nested key and particular key to be deleted from that nested dictionary. The del dictionary will delete the entire dictionary and hence printing it after deletion will raise an error, just like what we did with tuple and list earlier. If you remember, if you have deleted an object, you cannot use that object anymore. It will raise an error. So in this example, we have the following items or key value pairs in our dictionary. And then we delete dictionary having a key of 6. 6, that's 2. And then if we print our dictionary, what will happen? So this is initial dictionary. After deleting the key 6, okay, it is now removed or deleted. Okay. Next, using pop. So pop method is used to return and delete the value of the key specified. So using this sample dictionary, pop underscore LA is equals to dict.pop key 1. The dictionary after deletion, print our dictionary, and then value associated to pop key is, so pop LA will return the value that was deleted. Okay, so from here will become this, or we have deleted 3 gigs, 1 gigs, and then the value that was deleted was placed inside pop LA. Okay, this is sample. Okay. Next is pop item. It returns and removes an arbitrary element key value pair from the dictionary. The pop only removes the key and returns the value, whereas the pop item removes the key and returns the key value pair. Okay, so in this instance, it's almost the same. Okay, in this instance, it's almost the same. However, will return what was deleted. I think we're missing one here. Sorry. Pop item does not need an index. Okay, if we try to execute it using, sorry, a key, using a key, it will return an error. What happens is that pop item will remove the very first key value pair and place the key value pair inside our variable. In this case, this is another dictionary variable. Okay, so it's the same as pop, but pop can accept a key and it only returns a value, whereas a pop item removes the first key value pair in our dictionary and returns it into a variable. Next is clear. So all the items from a dictionary can be deleted at once using the clear method. So you just have to call the name of the dictionary variable followed by period followed by clear open close parentheses, and it will delete the entire dictionary. Okay, the contents only. The variable will remain, however, the contents will be removed. Okay. So these are the different methods or functions that you could use with your dictionary. You can try them for yourself. Some were already discussed and some were not. Okay, you can try to play around with the different functions and commands. Lastly, Python's for loops. Okay, I Python for loops. Sorry, Python for loops. I place this as the last topic in our collections, which consists of list, dictionaries, tuple, simply because the for loops are the most used loop when you are looping inside a list, a tuple, or a dictionary. Okay? You use most of the time you use for loops. Okay, so this is just a review of what a for loop is. Specifically, this type of for loop uses in keyword, okay, in order for you to extract the values in your collection. Python for loop is used for sequential traversal. It is used for iterating over an iterable like string, tuple, list, etc., falling under the category of definite iteration. Definite iteration means the number of repetition is specified explicitly in advance. You already know how long it will take. In Python, there is no C style for loop, i.e., okay, okay, this is the style for loop in C. So there is no for loop like this one. There is, however, a for in loop, which is similar to for each loop in other languages. Let us learn how to use for in for sequential traversals. Okay, in Python, for loops only implements the collection-based iteration. So the syntax is for variable name in our collection, colon, what are your commands? So this is the flowchart for each item in the sequence. Have we reached the last item? If it's true, we exit the loop. If it's false, we execute the statement and check again if we have reached the last item. Here, the iterable is a collection of objects like list, tuples, dictionary, etc. The indented statement inside the for loops are executed once for each item in the collection or iterable. The variable bar takes the value of the next item of the iterable each time through the loop. So this is a sample using different types of collection that we have discussed. So first, how do we loop inside a list? So this is our list. Okay, L having three items. For I in L, okay, again, what happens here is that it takes our collection, in this case, our list, and places each and every value in I. So once you print this, okay, it will display each and every value of our list. Okay. Next, iterating over a tuple. Same logic. Okay, we use a tuple and then use for I in T, where T is the tuple. Then lastly, we use a string. Again, for I in S, S is our string, and then we print. For a dictionary, okay, for a dictionary, this is sample dictionary. Same logic actually. Okay. What happens is that we need to call, okay, we need to call the key of our dictionary. So how do we how did we do that? So using D, which is our dictionary, each and every um, key will be placed inside I. Okay. And then once we call the name of our dictionary together with the key, the value will be printed. So I picks up the key and the I will return the value. Okay. So for this instance, the output would be key and the value. We use the formatting string, okay, percentage %s for string, percentage %d for the value for numbers, specifically integer, and then percentage %i and the index I. Okay. So take note of how we format our string values. We can either use that format or percentage. Okay. So upon executing this one, Okay. We will open the sample for loop. For loop sample one. Okay. Let's execute the string, list, and range. Okay. And then we have for loop iteration. Okay. Using list, tuple, string, and dictionary. Okay. Loop control statements. So loop control statements change the execution from its normal sequence when execution leaves the scope, while automatic objects that were created in the scope are destroyed. Python supports the following control statements. The control statements that we will discuss are continue and break, which are also used for while loop. Okay. Continue statement. Python continue statement returns the control to the beginning of the loop. So it is just like skipping. Okay. It returns back without executing the next line. So in this code, for letter in geeks, for geeks, what happens here? This is a string, so each and every character will be placed inside letter, and then it will loop. Okay, the letter is E and or S. Okay, we skip else we print the letter. So notice here, our output does not have E or S. Okay, next we have the break statements. So continue is skip while break is exit. So we will exit the loop. So notice here, if the letter is E or S, we exit. Okay. For break. So we'll only print E. Okay. I'm sorry, but it should have printed only G. This line was not indented, so I need to indent this one. Should be print current letter. Indented. Should be G. Take note of how we debug. It's very, very important that you check your tabs and your spaces. That is the only problem with Python. It's very finicky. It's very maarte with how you use your tab and your spaces. Okay, so take note of that. So the output should be G. Why? Okay. Because if you take a look at this one, when it is E, when the value of letter is E or S, should exit, right? And then in this one, the first letter was G. So therefore, G will be printed because this particular line will not be executed. If you do not want to get confused, you just put a space there so that you will denote that these two particular commands are separate. Okay. Mm, Next is the past statement. Past statements is used to write empty loops. Past is also used for empty control statement, functions, and classes. Example, for letter in gigs for gigs, past, print, last letter, letter. Okay. So what happens here is that there's nothing happening. It's pass, 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 pass. And in every pass, the character is given to letter. And what will be the last character given to the variable letter? That is S. Okay. So when you execute this one, it will display S. S. Next, range. So range is a built-in function that is used when a user needs to perform an action a specific number of times. Range in Python 3 .x is just a renamed version of a function called xrange in Python 2.x. The range function is used to generate a sequence of numbers. Depending on how many arguments user is passing to the function, the user can decide where that series of numbers will begin and end, as well as how big the difference will be between one number and the next range and the next. Range takes three arguments: the start, the stop, and the step. So the step is optional. So start and stop. Okay, start is the integer starting number. Stop is the integer before which the sequence of number is to be returned. Take note of that. When you use a stop, it's always stop minus one or n minus one, meaning to say it will stop at that particular number and it will not include that number. Okay, so always remember that when using a range. For example, for I in range 10, print I, n is equals to space print. Okay, the output for that is only until 9. Okay, next, so we use a list 10, 20, 30, 40 for I in range length of L. What's the length of L? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4. Okay, if you use L index I, so that will become 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I 0, and then range is length 4. So I in range 4. So because range, the last number of a range ends in n minus 1, it will stop at 3. Okay, 10, 20, 30, 40. And then lastly, for I in range 1 to 10, so 1 until 9, the sum of the first 10 numbers, sum is 0. The answer is 45. So 1, 3, anyway, let's just perform this one. So range Okay. I will place a print here so that you will know the value of. So this is just to double check. What I did is I added the value of I, which will be printed each and every time in our last range loop. So just to check the value of I. So notice here we have 1 up until 9. Then the sum is 45. Lastly, for loop with else, in most programming languages, the use of else statement has been restricted with the if condition. But Python also allows us to use the else condition in for loops. The else block just after for while it's executed only when the loop is not terminated by a break statement. Out of that, the statement is not terminated by a break statement. That is the only time that the else will work. Okay. So in this example, we have for I in range 1 to 4, print I, and else print no break. And then in this instance, we use a break. So no break will not be executed. It will only be executed in print 1. After that, exit the loop. That's why in here, this one will be executed 1, 2, 3, and then no break. Whereas in this one, it will only execute 1 or print 1. After that, the loop is exited, and then else is not executed because there is a break state. Okay. So if you want, you can change here. So no break 2. Notice no break 2 is not printed simply because there's a break statement here in our for loop. So in short, do not use an else in your for loop if you have a break statement. Okay. So that is all for the lecture today. I hope you learned something and I hope I was able to deliver the information clearly. Okay, if you have any questions, just drop a message in our Discord channel. Thank you guys and take care.